Next up, we have Wayne Wright from South Bedford Schools. Wayne is a 9-year teacher of science and a 5th year at Thurston High School. He was trained through Wayne Risa in NGSS and has taken what he's learned back to his biology department to design classes to be based on NGSS. Let's give a warm welcome to Wayne.
Of the science classroom. I wanted to start today off with a question and a picture from my classroom this year. What do you see? Take a close look. Maybe you notice that the desks aren't all in rows, that some students are out of their seats, and that students are working with paper in some pretty untraditional ways. Also, you might notice that the door to the classroom is open. Just imagine this. Anyone walking by the room at this moment would see exactly what you're seeing right now. What would they see? How might my coworkers or my administrators interpret what I see right now? In our complex environment we call a school, there are many different stakeholders that all have the same goal, student learning. But they often approach it in different ways, depending on the title that they have and their own personal experiences that they have. So how do we come alongside these different stakeholders, show them what this major shift in science education looks like, get them on board with it, and ultimately get them to be advocates of the NGSS mindset? Now, to say that I've achieved this goal would be a lie. But I'd like to share with you my journey as I've tried to strive towards it. So let me tell you a little bit of background. I'm very fortunate to come from a district that has been looking at and has been implementing NGSS for a very long time. And this is largely due to the fact that I had a former coworker who worked really hard at this, and he's a current Wayne Risa science consultant, Rich Backler. But even though I've been coming from a very forward-thinking district, I have found that there are lingering practices that still make implementing NGSS slow. For example, that we have strict curriculum maps and that we all have common assessments. Now, on the surface, these seem like really great ideas. Provide students with the opportunity for learning regardless of which teacher they have. But on the flip side, this doesn't really allow for students to really engage in the NGSS process and give them time to do that. And it doesn't give the opportunity for teachers to be able to really try new things with very little wiggle room in these time constrictions. So, to put this into context, last year, my administration happened to purchase some new mapping software, and they asked all the content areas to be able to upload their curriculum maps to it. So the science department said, well, let's realign our curriculum and let's have it ready for the 2016-2017 school year. Well, I was also fortunate during the summer to attend the NGSX training and get trained in NGSS. I was extremely excited about this. I was excited to dive into NGSS and really let it drive my classroom instruction. But then I remembered, I am not alone. I have other teachers that I'm expected to do the same things as they are, or similar things, but how am I going to actually implement these things that I've learned? How can I do both of these things? So I was really conflicted. I wanted to appease my boss and my coworkers, but at the same time, I wanted to provide my students with the cross-cutting concepts and the engineering practices that make learning science meaningful. So the only way I knew that I was going to be able to reconcile this was to be able to contact my coworkers and get them to make some changes to the curriculum so that it would be more NGSS friendly. So, thanks to the power of email, I sat down and told them how exciting this workshop that I had been to. I was excited about what we were going to do, and I made some positive suggestions about re-looking at the standards and making some great tweaks so that we could have a really good curriculum. And then I sent it. And let me tell you, it was received. Thanks to the power of email, that positive, friendly email that I had sent was taken as anything but. This was not my goal. In fact, this was actually going to harm my goal of getting the curriculum changed. So I had to take a step back and ask myself, why did this happen? How did this happen? So what I did was after many sleepless nights, I realized that it really kind of boiled down to just one word, and that word is change. I have found that very few people are indifferent to change. Either people are really excited or they're really upset by it. I like this quote here. Sharma says it like this: change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. Take a close look at this quote. 2/3 of it are not fun. The words like hard and messy are words that cause us teachers to cringe. They are words that bring us back to our rough first years of teaching, that we are very glad that they are in the past. So an email for change like the one that I had written caused some people to maybe have a blast from their past. And I'm not talking about the blast that my children would go ooh and ah to. I'm talking about the blast that could do some serious damage. Not only to the goal that I was trying to accomplish, but to actually the relationships of the people around me. So I had to come up with a new approach. There had to be another way. Then I remembered, we are not alone. In order to achieve this goal, I was going to need to get other people on my side. I knew that I had coworkers that would probably have the same experience if they only too had been to that same workshop. So I changed my tactics. I told them about the NGSS workshop, and I made sure that they signed up for it as well. But I didn't just stop there. I wanted to make sure they left that workshop with the same positive experience that I had experienced. So I like this quote by Jim Rohn, and he says this: "Your life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by change." I wasn't good enough just to send them and hope that they'd get the same experience. I had to make sure that they did. So I came alongside my coworkers as they were going through the workshop, and I'd ask them, how is it going? I'd encourage them when they were frustrated, and I would celebrate with them when they found something that they really liked. By doing this and coming alongside, I soon found that they also had the same view that I did. Now that I have other people on my side, I found it easier to bring it up in department meetings. I asked other people to share things that they were doing in their classrooms with NGSS, so it would encourage others. By having this mind shift or this mindset change, I was able to see other people who were maybe unwilling to come around and actually see that changing the curriculum could be a good thing. But what about our administrators, right? These people have clearly been trained in NGSS. Well, okay, well maybe not. How is, for a teacher who's been getting good reviews, how do I show them that a change in my classroom would actually be a good idea? Because many of them haven't been trained, and many have never even taught science. So I had to realize that I had to get NGSS as a part of my evaluative tool and show that was important to my administrator. So at my school, we have what we call SMART goals, or goal-setting meetings at the beginning of the year. And normally I just saw this as something I had to check off the list. But then I remembered, what if I did this, maybe instead of just doing this as a checklist, maybe if I created this and made it a smarter goal. This time, instead of just having my evaluator come in and see my classroom for what it is, I decided to show him which areas I wanted him to specifically look at, and show him the NGSS practices that I wanted him to give me feedback on. When I did this, I then saw my observations were coming back with some more meaningful data for me, showing me the practices that I could actually improve upon, and they started to see how important this process was in our school. Now that we have our administrators on board, my department head has even convinced them that we need more time to work on this on the side to work on our curriculum. We've even been given PD days just to work on curriculum, and have been given us resources to make sure that we have the best practices for our students. So when I look back at the very beginning at my classroom in the picture that I see, I'm not worried what other people see in my classroom, because I know that at my school, we're changing the view. Thank you.